But what is special about that, the here and now, present-centered interaction? What makes that?
What's special about it is it gives people greater awareness of how they relate to other people, and particularly the problematic ways, or the unsatisfying ways, or the self-destructive ways. And it gives them a great opportunity to, once they have gotten a good awareness of what that is, let's say somebody is afraid to speak honestly because then nobody will like me, kind of thing. Well, we could talk about that, you know, and last week I was at my boss's house for a party and there were a lot of people there and I was feeling tired, but I was afraid to say I was feeling tired, or I didn't like the sushi, and I was afraid if I said thanks, I don't really like it, or I don't really want it, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know, we can blab about that, and then I could say, well, why don't you go out and the next time you have an opportunity, tomorrow, the next day, experiment with it, see what happens now that you're aware that this is what's holding you back. Or, yeah, of course there was some awareness before, but let's say it's heightened.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the group, somebody brings up, this is an issue for me, I'm afraid to speak honestly because I fear being disliked. How is that true in the group? How have you been doing that so far in this group? Build that awareness and then say, okay, are you willing, do you have the guts to experiment with doing it here and seeing what happens and checking out, you know, to what extent you're fantasizing and imagining, and to what extent you are carrying forth what you and I would call a fixed Gestalt. You know, this is what you learn to do at home, so your mom would like you or love you or whatever, and you just never changed. You just kept doing the same thing, and it's boring or dissatisfying, deadening, you know, all that stuff. So this gives a person an immediate opportunity to, and I'm taking a kind of a minor, you know, somewhat minor thing, but just as an example.
So it sounds to me like you're really advocating for a phenomenological, kind of existential, behavioralist view.
You got it.
Versus a psychodynamic, you know, looking for the cause, looking for the why.
Yeah.
It's like the why is not so interesting or boring or not as important.
The why is minimally useful. It can provide a ground, you know. And sometimes I'll bend a little and somebody will start talking about, like, say the client I just made up might say, yeah, I remember when I was 7 years old, I told my mom I didn't like the chocolate cake that she made for my birthday, and she didn't talk to me for 3 weeks, you know. And, you know, and that's one event in a whole cumulative pile of events in the person's childhood. So it's a little ground, but that doesn't change anything. I mean, it only provides a little bit of ground for working on it. So I keep that to a minimum because it's, as we know from psychoanalysis and Woody Allen and so forth, 25 years of talking about childhood doesn't change what person's doing today.